So in this video, I'm going to be talking about why people like Nokko. I made a video on why people don't like him before, and I figured I should focus on something more positive, because this guy is fun, and I love him. So let's take a look at his abilities real quickly just before we start talking about why people like him. His passive is quite wordy, but basically all it means is that if you have a stink brand or bright bonnet down, then you can self-revive, and the orbs that spawn on the ground will give you a speed boost, allowing you to get to there quicker. The passive will not activate if you do not have a Stink Brain or Bright Bonnet down. So, now, Stink Brain, his first ability, throw a mushroom that periodically sheds poisonous spores, inflicting viral damage and stats effects upon nearby enemies while also lulling them to sleep. This applies a unique stats effect, Sleep, allowing you to make use of Arcane Impetuous if you desire. Now, obviously, this procs with Viral, which is also fantastic, and it has a pulse rate of 3 seconds, which can increase if you jump on it or throw Spore Spring at it. Now, next is Bright Bonnet. Release a rejuvenating mushroom that emits a radio pulse, giving Nokko and his allies energy and applying a buff to ability strength that lasts for a short time. And now that short time is actually quite long enough to get off as many abilities as you need to shred the room. And now his next ability, Reroot. This is the most subsumed ability on him, but honestly, I don't know why you wouldn't want to go around being a little mushroom. I think it's adorable. So, revert to Sproodling form, spawning orbs that heal Nokko and grant speed boost while in the state Nokko is untargetable and heals gradually. This also counts as invisibility, so if you wanted to use Arcane Crepuscular, you could. And now finally his fourth ability, the most used ability, unleash a chaotic ballistic mushroom that seeks enemies and bounces explosively off whatever it touches. Contact with any of Nokko's mushrooms invigorates them, doubling their pulse rate. As I mentioned before, this has a maximum of 3 projectiles, it does insane toxic damage, and it has no fall off. Now, with the critical chance increasing per bounce, you are enticed to leave this out for as long as possible, because the damage builds up incredibly quickly. And now with the explanation of his abilities out of the way, we can focus on why they love this guy so much. These are level 195 enemies, you cast Spore Spring, and as you can see, it's just building up incredibly quickly. Now this is with no mods whatsoever, and the damage is already nutty on those that it hit. And then if you wanted to, you could throw a Bright Bonnet for more energy, and then step on them to get the buff. And then finally, throw out your Spore Spring just to do insane amounts of damage with that ability strength buff. And now as you're jumping on this, your ability strength and energy will keep being replenished over and over again. And because the pulse rate is 3 seconds while the effect duration is 5 seconds, even if you don't jump on this, your ability strength will always be upkept so long as you're in the radius, which entices you to build around range, especially since Spore Spring has no fall off. So if you were to use a dedicated build around range and strength, and then if you throw down the Bright Bonnets to get that lovely 71% ability strength, you can just start your Spore Spring and watch as all the enemies start dying, taking hundreds of thousands, even into millions of damage worth. Right now, these guys can only take 400,000 before they die. But trust me, it goes up into the millions very quickly. And so the main thing that people like about him is, as I mentioned, quite simple. He does insane damage and he's incredibly supportive, with him nullifying enemies for crowd control, even proccing them with viral, and then giving energy to teammates and even strength. His third ability is solely for his own survival, and then his fourth ability is just insane levels of damage, offering the ability to do millions of damage almost completely effortlessly. And then I feel the need to mention the final thing people like about him, his playful personality, which is emphasized by his animations. If you pull out a pistol while in his noble animation, after a few seconds, his lovely sister will come in and they'll start dancing. And then finally, to showcase his personality, if you are in your ship or a relay, anywhere that's not a mission, and you are using his agile animation, after a couple seconds, Ureli will come out once again and they will start dancing once again. And now that is pretty much just it. Now, I didn't need to mention that last part, but I do think it's nice to show that he has a playful personality along with Ureli. I think it was a nice add by the developers. It shows Nokko's fun personality in a beautiful way. And with that being said, that's pretty much just about it. So if you have any Warframes that you personally like, please let me know down in the comments. I love to hear about them. And that is pretty much just about it. Until next time.